Welcome to Feel Good Friday Q&A. Episode 2.
Yeah.
I would say people enjoyed this. We got a lot more questions this week.
I think I enjoy it more than they do.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It's a good time because it brings back so many things. It makes me go back a little bit and start to think about this, those situations that I was in and how I lived those situations.
Yeah. We got a lot more questions this week, so obviously we're not going to be able to hit them all. We narrowed it down to our favorite few. I would say 98% of the questions are football related.
Yeah, it's fine.
Do we want to rip off the Band-Aid and tell the people the truth?
What's the truth?
That you haven't watched a football game in about 6 years?
That's a lie. I worked at ESPN 2.5 years ago, so of course.
Honestly, though, since you left ESPN,
I'm not as many.
Yeah.
Look, there was a time where I had to watch every single game on a Sunday, and then Monday, Sunday games, Monday night game, Thursday night games. I had to watch them all because you never knew what questions you were going to get.
Right.
Specifically when we were doing radio and you'd get social media questions from a Jets fan, and they were 2-12, and someone had a question about
the left guard pulling on
a practice squad player who moved up and it was activated on the special teams. You had to answer those questions, man.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. But since you left ESPN, I would say, you're not.
No, I'm not. Look,
because you did 14 years of watching every game. You played 13 years. I would imagine you're pretty sick of football at this point.
I wouldn't say I'm sick of football, but I would say, of course, my allegiance is with the Cowboys, so I'm watching that game.
Right.
But then I'll tune in to the big games of the week if there's something that's there. I love college football. I still love college football. I have always loved college football, more so than the NFL.
Really?
But yeah, so I'm not as beholden to the TV as I have been in the past on Saturdays and Sundays. And even through the Cowboy games, I'll go outside and barbecue.
Yeah.
Get on my Traeger.
Yeah. There you go.
Barbecue a little bit.
Yeah. So keep asking your football questions, but there's a good chance Darren doesn't know what he's talking about when he answers those. Unless they're historical questions. All right, question 1. This is from James Harris. He asks, what was your favorite stadium to play in and why?
The old RFK Stadium.
What is that?
The old DC. The old Redskins. They called them the Redskins back then. Not the Washington.
Don't say that.
Not the Washington football team. But
we don't want to get censored.
In DC, the old RFK Stadium was on top of you, and the fans were rowdy. Of course, that was our big rival back then. And in '92, when I first came in the league, in '91, the Redskins had won the Super Bowl, and the rivalry had spanned for since the early '70s or whatnot. And Joe Gibbs was the coach, and both teams were stacked. Through a lot of part of the early '90s, and that stadium was alive, man. Grass stadium, which I always love, but it just felt like the fans are right there on top of you. Fast track, but just physical football games, man, and specifically when we were under the lights.
Yeah. Night games.
Prime
time.
Yes.
Yeah. You could play anywhere, though, in prime time. It'd be pretty cool, I bet.
Yeah, it'd be cool. And back in my old stadium at Arizona State, Sun Devil Stadium, was fast track.
Yeah.
Everything that had grass, I liked.
Yeah. Nice grass.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. All right, David Gonzalez asks, do you think flag football will help develop skills for younger kids, or do you think they should start tackle football as early as possible?
David, that is a great question, and something there was a time where I was torn on that. I started playing football when I was tackle football when I was 7 years old.
Jeez.
And I honestly felt like, I was just so passionate about the game. I loved it. I had 2 older brothers that played, so I couldn't wait to start. Matter of fact, I was so small at 7 years old. I wasn't supposed to play because I didn't weigh enough. My uncle would put weights in my pants to make the weigh-ins. That's how I was that's how much I wanted to play. But look, in saying that, look, kids today can play flag football because that's an option. And I also think it gives them that opportunity to actually learn the game without thinking about the physical nature of it.
Right.
Get to understand, if you're a wide receiver, get to understand what route combinations are. If you're a quarterback, understanding what cover 1 is and cover 2 and cover 3 is and how to attack the defenses and where the weaknesses are. I'm a big fan of flag football at an early age. And as the kids get older, then let them decide if they want to play tackle. Because at the age of 7 and 8, I mean, I was so young when I was playing, and I watched my kids play at that 8, 9, 10 year, and it was like, you know, they didn't know how to tackle. They didn't know how to put their head in the right place. You couldn't really teach them the right way to tackle because they were so young and they weren't strong enough to do a lot of the things that you wish they could. But I just always felt like, look, why not just wait? Because there's a lot of guys I played in the pros in the NFL with that didn't play until they were in high school.
Yeah.
So what's the hurry?
Right. Yeah, no, I played with some guys that ended up making – one guy played like 2 years of college. That was it. That was all he ever played. He ended up getting drafted in the 4th round. So
happens.
If you're a great athlete, you don't have to start at 7.
You get skills, man, playing flag football, playing basketball, play all the sports and have a good time.
Absolutely. David B. Smith says, what was your biggest influence on making the decision to go Prop 48 over playing JUCO ball after you left Maryville?
Don Bakke, who was the recruiting coordinator at Arizona State, convinced me that I could make that transition, even though my grades were bad, that I was smart enough to make the transition to Arizona State. Gave me an understanding of what sitting out that year was going to be like, which was a lot of humility. But he gave me he painted this picture of, hey, you need to go through this. Mm-hmm. You've never missed a season since you were 7 years old. You need to go through this and understand how much you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
So Don Bakke played a huge role, and deep down inside, I always knew I was smart enough to make the transition. I didn't have to play that year at a JUCO. Mm-hmm. I knew Arizona State was the right spot for me. I knew but they had the resources, and Coach Bakke back at that time just had a game plan, and I stuck to the game plan.
Were there any other? I mean, were there JUCOs that you were seriously considering?
A ton. There were every JUCO you known to man.
Yeah.
Glendale Community College, Mesa Community College. There was a lot of them that were knocking down the doors. It was just, you know, the game plan was there and set for me at Arizona State.
Gotcha. Art Sanders says, how do players like yourself stay grounded and not conform to many temptations you guys incur? What advice do you give to rookies, or what do you give to rookies?
Yeah, Art, look, you are who you are. If you're a guy that you know, money just compounds you know, who you basically are. But if you got some humility growing up and you're just a normal guy and you just happen to play a sport, that's who you're going to be. If you're a guy who has an ego, it doesn't matter what, you know, who you are. If you're, you know, if you're in a commercial real estate game, if you're a doctor, if you're a football player, if you have an ego, it's going to show regardless. So it doesn't matter if it's just a sport. But I would say most of the guys in the NFL, or the guys that I've been around that are grounded, have a really good support system behind them. Strong family influence, not running with an entourage who's always lifting them up, patting them on the ass and say, oh, you're the best.
Yeah.
You know, my friends are similar to you, Ben. Talk a lot of crap to me and tell me when I'm, you know, full of crap.
Crap.
Yeah.
Since when did you censor yourself?
I've censored myself. My kids have been listening to this, so I gotta watch my mouth. But yeah, I mean, look, I always felt like the guys, the people that I've been around in my career that just got it and understood it is because of their support system and how they were just normal people who knew they were just playing a game. Mm. And those are the guys that have made it. And that's what I tell those young rookies nowadays is like, don't run with an entourage. Know who your friends are. Know who your true friends are.
Gotcha.
And follow the path of the guys that are true pros. And I came in the league. Daryl Johnston was a pro. Tony Tobert was a pro. Ken Norton Jr. was a pro. James Washington, guys that understood, you know, but the game, that it was just a game and that they played a game and they surround themselves with the right people. Those are the people I followed.
There you go. Todd Edwardson says, my question is about player contracts. Great players say they're team players on the one hand, yet they squeeze every dollar from the owners on the other. Arguably, this may cost the team wins. I'm all for players getting everything they can while they play, but from an outsider's perspective, it seems hypocritical to do that and still claim to be a team player.
Man,
what say you?
Great question. We can sit here for an hour and go through this, but I have to be quick here, just for time. So, look, I've always looked at the NFL. They always say it's not for long. The average lifespan for an NFL player is 2.5 to 3 years, and then you're out. And normally, you don't decide when you leave. The league, the ownership, the GM tells you or escorts you to the door because it's called cutting you. There's no loyalty on that side of the fence. None. So I've always looked at it as, if the true professional knows that he's a commodity, understands it, and he only has a short window of time to maximize the business benefits of whatever it is in that time period. So I've been a firm believer that in that time as an athlete, you get what you get. You've earned it. And if they're willing to pay you, then you've earned that. Mm-hmm. But don't feel sorry for everyone else. And don't look at it as if like you're taking away from the team concept and everything, because it's not. I mean, it is a team, but again, there's a business on the opposite side that they will cut you at any time. Guaranteed contracts are just coming into fold. I played without guaranteed contracts, so they could cut you at any time without, being hurt. So I've always looked at what's the difference of being in corporate America and making as much money as you possibly can. If you work with Facebook, but Google is recruiting you, do you stay at Facebook? Google's giving you more money, or do you go on to Google? Because it's not just about you, it's about your family and life afterward, right?
Yep.
So what's the difference between corporate America and being a footballer or being an athlete? In corporate America, you're going to maximize it. You're going to try to make as much money as you possibly can in that window of time.
Yeah.
And that's what the NFL players, basketball players, baseball players are doing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The devil's advocate would say the difference is there's a salary cap in the NFL. So you can't just pay anybody everything.
So I'm supposed to be concerned about everybody else, right? That's the deal,
why
right?
not?
Is that how it's supposed to be when they don't really care about it?
Right.
Look, I get it. I mean, I want everybody to get paid, but at the same time, like this is a short window.
Yeah.
We look at players like Tom Brady and we say, oh, he's playing 20 years, but on average, these guys aren't playing but 2.5, 3 years. Right. You just never know. I tear my ACL, I'm out. Mm-hmm. I'm a commodity.
Yeah.
So you got to maximize what's right in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, fans have this fantasy that, the guys are loyal and it's all about the team. And
it is, man, when you're playing.
Sort of.
Not
anymore.
I don't think about, I don't think any of us really think about the loyalty factor, even when we're going through contract negotiation. That's why we always say within the locker room, when someone's going through into contract negotiation, you stay out of the mix. Mm-hmm. Because when you go through that contract negotiation, and this is a great conversation. I wish we could keep going and going on this. But when you go through a contract renegotiation with the organization and you're sitting across from the GM, you know what they're telling you? They're telling you how bad of a player you actually are. Mm-hmm. They're scraping you down. They're trying to tear you down to say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. And it's a sensitive time. It's a really sensitive time, and you're arguing back your value. I played 98% of the snaps this year. I ran down on all the special teams. I played through 18 injuries this past season. And you know what they say? And
cutthroat. It's
cutthroat, man. So you get what you can get, and all the players need to stand on the sideline and say, "Hey, man, cheer that person on. You get what you can get."
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good perspective because again, if you don't know somebody that played or you're not super tied in, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't understand that perspective. So that's good insight. Sweet, man, we did it.
That it?
That's it.
Oh man,
that's it for this week.
I got a little that one touched me a little bit, man.
Yeah. He was calling you out on that one.
That's a topic we need to. What was the name that?
It was that came from Todd Edwardson.
Todd,
great question.
That's a topic.
Yep.
That's a podcast topic.
Yeah, we'll elaborate on that for sure.
Because I like to hear your point of view, and I'd love to hear Tyler's point of view as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll tease it this way. I had a point of view very similar to Todd's. Since knowing you, my viewpoint has changed.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because of everything you just laid out there. Yeah. Makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Thank you, James, David, Art and Todd for those questions. If we didn't get to yours, again, we're going to keep doing these every single Friday. Keep submitting your questions. Darren enjoys it.
I love it.
I enjoy grilling them and seeing them squeal a little bit.
Sweating over here.
Yeah. So we appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys.
Have a great weekend.